I'd like to call the May 16, 2018 meeting of the Royal Oak Downtown Development Authority to order. At this point, I'd like to open up public comment. Anybody here for public comment? In the front row. But your name is Rich.
Good afternoon. My name is Rich. I'm the owner and head distiller over at Motor City Gas. We're at 325 East 4th Street. I'm also a Royal Oak resident. I'm not sure if our grant, facade grant program got added to the agenda today or not, but I wanted to show up just to help eliminate a little bit of confusion about what we might be requesting here. So back on April 6th, we submitted an application for the facade program. It's my understanding that the DDA won't be able to review that until next month for approval. What we're asking for is a slight variance to be able to begin part of the work for that program ahead of the application actually getting approved. And I'll explain in a minute why we're asking for that. And again, it's only part of the work. It's not the entire project. All of the facade work that we're requesting to do is work that we were not planning on doing without the grant money. Part of that was projects that, because of the grant, we solely decided to do those. Other projects were, we have a larger distillery expansion project we're in the midst of right now towards the later stages of that. And originally we were going to do some cosmetic facade updates, and because the project went so over budget, we decided not to do those. Once we found out about the grant program, we decided to proceed with those again. The reason that we're asking for the variance is because we're under some quickly approaching deadlines from the health department to redo some floors in a portion of our distillery. And the projects that we would like to do to the facade of the building, if we do the floors first, there is some concrete work that's required. We will have to go back and redo the floors again after that, which is a cost that we would prefer not to incur. So our building is kind of broke up into three different facades. It's all one company. The tasting room has one frontage. The manufacturing space or the distillery is a second frontage, and then the storage facility for our whiskey barrels is a third frontage. The storage space for the whiskey barrels is not time sensitive. In fact, there we're just looking at replacing doors and windows that are old and rusted out. The time-sensitive project is the distillery and the tasting room. So we would like to get started on those projects with the understanding that, I'm confident that we will meet all of the requirements of the DDA for that grant, but if for some reason we don't, we understand that we would then incur the full cost for that project. So I just wanted to show up today to kind of put a little explanation behind why we're requesting this, and then I don't know if this would be the appropriate forum, but answer any questions that anybody might have.
Well, ordinarily it wouldn't, but Robert's Rules of Order, when I run a meeting, it's just a suggestion. So, but seeing as you're the only one here for public comment, I mean, if anybody has any questions.
Yeah, one.
Okay.
When was this submitted, the request?
The application was submitted on April 6th.
Was this coming before the infrastructure?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, probably have questions.
Yeah. So I guess, and then the committee has talked, and so we are going to accept your application and consider it. It's not an approval, but we will consider the applications. And if you decide to go ahead and pull your permits ahead of time, we're okay with that in this particular case, simply because the timing.
Gotcha.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so Jay, that means this body doesn't need to take any action at all?
Not today. No. It's still, so what'll happen, will go to the committee level. At that time, we may or may not have you show up for a committee meeting, probably will. And we'll go over your applications and discuss it with you, and then the committee will make a decision. And more than likely at the June meeting, if we decide to move ahead with something, that'll be the point in time when we take action.
Okay.
All right?
So it's okay for us to proceed with the work in the meantime?
Yeah, you can
Okay.
proceed, and we'll still consider the applications.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay. Thank you. All right, I'd like to move on to number 3, the approval of the meeting minutes from April 18th. So everybody's had a chance to look at them?
So moved.
Moved by Director Johnson,
Second.
second by Director Krieger. Do I hear any, do I hear any, nobody wants to talk about this, so call for the vote. All those in favor? Opposed, motion carries. 4A is monthly expenses. I don't see anything on here that needs action, but if there's questions to be asked, now's the time to do it. Nothing? Seeing nothing, we'll move on to number 5. An issue regarding Singh DTE with requirements and costs.
Really quick, my company had some involvement in this early on, so I'm going to recuse myself from any discussion. or
Okay,
anything.
sounds good. Maybe Matt give the background on this. All right, Tim, or would you prefer to do it?
I can.
Okay.
That's not a problem.
Okay.
What I included on the website, and the Business Marketing Committee did meet just prior to the meeting today to go over an issue that came up with Singh's development at 696. You recall the DDA is selling the property under a purchase development agreement to Singh for about $2.5 million. They have submitted for construction permits. We're pretty close to issuing those, if not this week, next week, or being able to issue those, and that would be one of the prerequisites to closing with them on property. What they found out in dealing with DTE as part of their construction is that there's not sufficient power at the site to cover the loads that are needed for the development. And DTE is telling them that they need to run power supply from Lincoln Avenue down to the site. And you'll see in the communications that that number is around $992,000, which comes to a significant cost to the developer on it. And Avi Graywall asked the DDA and the Business Marketing Committee met with him at 3 o'clock to go over some issues and talk to him about if there was any assistance the DDA could have with this particular dollar amount that DTE is requiring to run that service. And I think if the Business Marketing Committee wants to talk about what their findings were or recommendation is, I think that'd be fine.
Yeah, so basically, when they drew up the plans, one for financing, everything like that, they assumed there was electricity there. You know, they said in all the years they built projects anywhere, there's never been an issue of electricity. They discovered it, I believe, a couple months ago. They went to DTE and they were pretty much told that they would be able to go right across Main Street, just sort of directly east of the project towards the south end, I believe. And there was an area there that they'd be able to tap in. And I think they figured on a cost of about $200,000 for them to do that. 2 weeks ago, they got a letter from DTE saying, no, you can't do that. The closest you're going to be able to go is up to Lincoln, and it's going to take 12 to 18 months to get power set up there, and it's going to cost you $992,000. Our biggest concerns were how's this going to affect the project? Are we going full speed ahead? How's it going to affect your financing, et cetera, et cetera? So they are going to go full speed ahead. They're going to have to bring generators to the site, obviously, during construction in order to frame, in order to do everything needed. And in fact, Avi said until elevator inspection, he thinks they'll be able to get away with temporary power. They're going to do everything they can to work through their contacts with DDE to expedite the power coming to it. And they were looking for significant help with the little $992,000 surprise. What we decided that would be fair, you know, they've been good partners throughout, was since they were ready to pay $200,000, what we decided was that we would propose that everything over $200,000 to bring the power to the site. So in other words, basically DTEs, invoices for lack of a better term. Everything over $200,000, we would give back through a TIF reimbursement, an 80-20 TIF reimbursement like we've done with all other projects until we hit a max of either half of the value over $200,000 or half of the cost over 200, with a cap of 400,000. In other words, because basically they're at 992,000 is what their estimate is now. So for lack of a better term, let's just call that $1 million. $1 million less the 200 that they were already gonna pay is 800. If it comes in at $1 million, we'll, over the course of time, reimburse $400,000 max TIF on an 80-20. If it comes in that it's 700,000, okay, less than 200, there's a $500,000 nut out there. Our exposure would be 250, okay? If it comes in at 1.3 million, less than 200 is 1.1, well, our max is still 400. Our cap is 400. So that's what we're proposing.
Do you know how much time, and were they okay with that?
I mean, they were, obviously they would have been happier if we had said we're gonna cover the whole nut, but, they seem very satisfied with it. They're going full speed ahead. They want to close as soon as possible, and they want to get rolling on this thing. They're gonna use their contacts to sort of expedite things, obviously with DTE, because they're gonna incur a cost of bringing their own power to the site.
And in
So,
terms of that, using the $400,000 number,
Right.
how long do you anticipate that taking to?
well, it all depends. It's interesting. It's a great question. Because there's a zero tax value on the site right now. So if they get the shovel in the ground now, and at the end of the year, if it gets assessed at a value, there'll be a tax value on it. So at that point, but again, remember that all that means is that they're also paying out of pocket to get the 80 back. So, but if I had to spin a wheel and guess, I would say it'll take like within 2.5 years, they'd probably have the 400 back. Because the projects, they're gonna fly once they get going, and the project's gonna kick pretty decent TIF revenue.
And if I can just add to that, the reimbursement wouldn't start until we received a copy of the invoice from DTE, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, I think what the action would be today is if the board supports the Business Marketing Committee's recommendation, you'd make a motion to do so and to direct staff to put together a specific reimbursement agreement with those parameters or terms. We would have Singh sign it and present it back to you at your June
meeting. But they've assured us that
gonna go-
with the commitment alone, they're going full speed ahead. So, I mean, to them, you know, I mean, they want to get the shovel in the ground. They want to get going, obviously, because, you know, just like anybody else, they've got, you know, significant dollars already invested in the thing, and they don't start getting paid off until people start moving in, so.
One of the other things I would point out is they've had cost added to them because of the access driveway to Woodward Avenue. MDOT's imposed on them in terms of improvements up and along Woodward Avenue that weren't really contemplated as part of the project initially. And all of those have already been assigned to Singh, so they've had a few other costs added that I think are a little outside the
Yep.
norm of most projects.
And subsequent to their obtaining financing, sort of as I would refer to them, they're exogenous shocks, you know, that just came in like out of nowhere. Oh, by the way, you know, here's another 250 to cut in for MDOT.
And for people who like stats, that extra additional cost from DTE basically comes out to $533 a foot. Install that.
Wow. Is that right?
Yeah. So.
Tim, is there any, since we're bringing power all the way out there, is there any potential future benefit to the city if there's a lack of power between Lincoln and this project that the city can, or a future developer can piggyback off of?
I think the letter that I included in the packet from DTE that was sent out talks about the credits if future development taps into those lines or uses those too, so, yeah, I mean,
Specifically the Main Street project, right?
well, I'm not sure, and Singh isn't sure where they're running the power from Lincoln. So I don't know that it's coming down Main or whether it's coming down from some service on Woodward. I can't tell you for sure yet where it's coming from.
One other thing that I forgot to add, and this, I think Chairman Dunstan was notified of this, less than a week ago. Chairman Dunstan investigated through, different political back channels that we have, whether there was some way we could go to Lansing for any kind of relief, any kind of grants or anything like that. And basically it would be something that would have to be like inputted like as a program that would probably take years or whatever to get anything instituted. So we were looking to see whether we get some relief out of them. So I think in our opinion, with the best thing we hope for is that Singh also has, and they have they have DTE contacts that they work with because they do so many projects. And obviously they have every incentive to negotiate this thing down as low as they can, and they'll be negotiating it down on our behalf as well, the way that we propose the deal. So, the best case scenario comes in way under 992 and way faster than 18 months.
Anybody else? So I guess, no, I guess we need a motion. Somebody.
I'll make the motion to approve. Can I make the motion to approve?
Absolutely.
Okay.
We got a motion by Director Riley. Second by Director Yazbek.
I'm going to ask you to clarify exactly what the motion is.
Motion is to draw up an agreement, reimbursement agreement, to help, to be brought back to the table for approval after signature by the developer to help with the.
So all we're doing is providing direction to prepare an agreement.
Correct.
We aren't
Correct.
agreeing to the terms of the agreement yet.
No.
Okay.
Direction to prepare the agreement.
Anybody else? Seeing nobody, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 6, parking garage retail space plan.
Sean's spent the most time on this, so I think I'll let him walk through the revisions since the last meeting and the recommendation that was discussed and put together from the Business Marketing Committee.
So the basic concept of this plan is unchanged from when it went to the DDA board, I believe back in January. A couple revisions took place. The first being the terms of the space utilization. And if I could get to the page here, I can walk the board through this here. So the Business Marketing Committee recommended the following terms that I included in this for the board's consideration. And it addresses the division of costs, revenue, and the rent structure that the DDA will have in some lease agreement with the city that the DDA, that the Marketing Committee is recommending the DDA for approval. The first of this is the DDA will pay the cost of an architect to design the space in accordance with the vision that the DDA board has for the space. The second item is that the DDA will then seek proposals from construction firms for the build out of the space. Now this is contingent on costs. So if the costs are within range that the DDA board deems reasonable and affordable, the DDA can then have the option to proceed with pursuing a lease agreement with the city and executing the build out. Next, into some of the details proposed by the committee is the duration of the lease will be 5 years. At the conclusion of this period of time, there'll be options to extend the lease for 2 additional 5-year periods of time. The DDA will offer to pay the city $1 per month in rent for the space for the duration of the lease. The DDA will then seek proposals from qualified firms to manage the day-to-day operations of the space. That may include seeking an outside management firm or, creating some arrangement with, internal city agencies like, say, the farmer's market or something like that. So that's still fairly flexible and needs to be worked out. And then lastly in this list is the DDA will receive 100% of the revenue from rents and other fees from this space until it's been compensated for the value of the work that it's invested. After that reimbursement is completed, the DDA will then divide the net revenue generated by the activities of the space with the city 50-50. So that's basically the main change that's occurred. Now the other items.
Excuse me, Sean, can I interrupt you just a second?
Certainly.
On 3A, where it says there will be options to extend the lease, how do we see those options working? How will those be written into the lease? Is that a mutual option? Is that a?
Well, probably the tenant's option.
Yeah. Is it tenant option, or does the city have the option to end the lease, or how is that gonna work?
Well, I don't think we've gotten into that level of detail yet, but I assumed it would be the tenant's option to extend for 2 additional periods of time if I'm accurately relaying what I received from the Business Marketing Committee. So
That would be accurate.
okay.
Okay, sorry to interrupt.
Well, that's just basically it. As those were the primary revisions. I mean, the overall concept, I think, mostly stays the same, of it being serving as a retail incubator for experiential retail. And so the experiential component will include it being an event venue. We'll have be working with a number of community partners to have activities programmed in the space. So it'll be a really eclectic kind of experience for people to help generate foot traffic. We see other examples of this at, say, like, the Rust Belt or like the Yellow Door in Berkeley. And just recently I read an article of the outdoor market space that they're reviving in downtown Detroit too. So I think, keeping up with the times and staying relevant with activities like this, I think is really important to continue to have a relevant retail presence here in downtown and keep the downtown economy pretty diversified. So, yeah, overall, I think it's a pretty exciting proposal.
Thank you. Well done, by the way.
Thank you.
So if you have any questions for Sean, there's also at the bottom of this document, there's a proposed resolution. Should anybody want to go there? Anybody with any questions?
Just a clarification, in 3C,
Sure.
it says the DDA will assume the cost of the management of the space. That's an ongoing cost. It might be a little inconsistent with D that says the net revenue will be split 50-50. The 50-50 is, management would be an expense.
I actually had this conversation with the executive director earlier today too, and we talked about the same thing. And I can see where there's it can be seen as a little unclear. But yeah, I think to clarify that, the cost of the management of the space would be rolled into the cost of that. So above and beyond the management would be.
The net revenue is after.
Net revenue
Okay.
would be after that, if that makes sense.
So the people who are the small retailers or whatever, they're still paying some kind of fee.
Correct.
Okay, that's not in there.
Yeah.
No, well, and I'll speak for the committee. The thought process is that we'll go in there and the DDA, we're going to bid it out. First of all, talk, have our architects and see what the cost is going to be. And if it all makes sense, then we'll go ahead, we'll foot the bill for it. And in the perfect world, we get this thing to the point where it's a hot commodity, which in talks that we had with Shelley from the Farmers Market and Shelley from the Chamber of Commerce, I mean, they were like drooling at the thought of having this available. And it became really apparent that there's a great need for a venue of this size and in that location. And the ability that we could have to do so many different things in there. When I say at the same time, I don't mean at the same time during the day, but like 1 week you could have, you know, the third week of every month is retail fair. And people rent kiosks or booths or whatever for that week. But then you can have, you know, events during the day, events at night, and if we go with the kitchen, we can do that. And in the perfect world, when all is said and done, we cover our costs for the design and the build out. And then the rents that we're getting out of it, of which we'll split 50-50 with the city, would be more than basically a flat contract if you were renting it to somebody in a perfect world. In other words, the sky's the limit at that point. Not that we're going to gouge or anything like that. It's going to be very reasonable, obviously. But we feel that this thing could be in play so often and for so many different events and for different types of occurrences that it could end up being the ultimate win-win-win, where it's great for the retailers, it's great for whoever uses it, it's great for the city, it's great for the DDA.
Sean?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, just to add to that, I met with the market master actually last week, and we had that discussion about the demand for a smaller venue. She says she has numerous people that end up not being able to use the existing farmers market because it's too large of a venue. And so having a smaller venue that can accommodate less than 100 people, she says she sees it every day. There's considerable demand for it. And to your point, I believe that you know, making the space versatile enough where we can flip it to, you know, one day we're doing pop-up retail, the next day, you know, there's a private event or something like that, so we can get maximum utilization out of the space, so it's not sitting dormant, it's generating revenue and activity and more foot traffic.
Anybody else? Well, there is a proposed motion. Oh, Don, I'm sorry.
I don't see how the city could possibly accept this. I think it violates the bond covenants that we've got on that structure. I think the city has to get a market rent from the space. I mean, we had that discussion before, and the thought was that the DDA would lease the space from the city and the city wouldn't be involved. It would be the DDA's project.
Even though there was a gap covered by money that's not involved in the bond?
I mean, it'd be one that I definitely would have to run through bond council to see if there's any possible way to do this, but this is not what I was expecting.
What were you expecting?
I was just expecting a rental rate.
Then who was gonna pay, who was gonna design it and pay for the build out? Was the city gonna do that?
Well, the
No,
DDA would.
DDA.
Don said
What?
we would rent it for market rate, and then it would be ours.
Right.
It would just be a
Yeah,
triple
it'd be
net
ours.
lease.
So that way, then you're not splitting anything with the city down there at the bottom, right? We would just lease it
Correct.
from the city.
Correct, and the city
Which
would
is a
have
simple way of doing it, too.
no involvement in the actual operation.
right.
That it would totally be a DDA operation.
I would, and, okay, I got you.
You feel that would satisfy bond council?
Oh, I'm sure
Well,
that
but
would.
we don't know that it won't satisfy bond council. I mean, with the gap that was there in the bonds, and then the extra money coming out of the parking fund, I don't know why. I mean, and the fact that, I mean, to me, I mean, the DDA is paying half of the bond payment, right? So I'm just. There'd be no 50-50 split at that point.
Yeah.
I mean, for us to be paying a rent payment, then I don't know if that makes this a good deal. I mean, because now we're gonna have to, how much, before we get done with everything, now we're paying rent, we're paying this.
But we don't know yet. Now I have to check with bond council.
Well, I mean, we could always look at this and move forward with it pending opinion of the bond council as well.
Yeah, it would delay it. I mean, I was hoping, I had this tentatively on the city commission agenda. I couldn't put it on Monday's agenda.
What precipitated this type of arrangement where it's $1 and then split with the city 50-50? Is it a wash if we just rent it for market rate, whatever that is?
Don't know. We don't know that because then.
We didn't run the numbers,
We,
right?
well, one thing is, we don't even know at this if it's tenable.
Right.
Because we have to wait until we get quotes back from, till design quotes
Mm-hmm.
and build-out quotes. It might be like where we look at that and go,
And I have
Maybe
no
another
idea,
dollar, it might not
no
make
idea what an appropriate market rate is for, because this is absolutely raw space.
it's not even a white
This-
box.
This isn't
Raw.
even white box space, this is
Well,
less than that.
and again, the thought process here was that we're gonna pay for the design and the build-out, and we're basically putting all the money up front, and then the city ends up sharing the profit, and it might be, if they set the rate at $10 a foot, they might get back 14 a foot, I don't know.
But is it easier just to lease it from the city and just?
My concern is
do it?
if you do that, we're gonna be leasing it for market rate, we may not be able to pass that along to prop up
Exactly.
our incubator.
Exactly.
Retailers, they won't be able to
Exactly,
afford it.
then we're tied to a profit type
So it's
scenario
kind of-
where.
Or
Exactly.
it's a lost leader and the DDA loses money each month, but what you're doing is you're filling a space. We need to
Right,
know
but
those
then
numbers
we're-
before we can make that
Well,
decision.
that was one of the reasons why we talked about doing it this way, because the DDA can subsidize rents, the city cannot.
That's right, I remember that, you're right. I remember that discussion, yeah. So I think we need to look at potential numbers before we can make that decision, but could we talk about at least getting design services going?
Director Spy.
No, I just, one quick question, Mr. Johnson, what was your thought process in terms of the need to get this on the next city agenda? Was there?
I was just hoping to advance this so that we could actually start this happening,
Right,
because
but-
I'm actually very excited about the concept.
No, and I agree with you 100%, but it seems to me from what I'm hearing to this table is we may not be ready.
That way.
And I'm actually gonna make a motion to send this back to committee to work out some of these issues that we've discussed here at this table. I mean, we're talking about making a resolution that we don't even know is legally binding.
But,
Well, are you making a motion right now, or are you talking about
Well,
making a motion?
I'll rescind my motion right now. I mean, if you wanna discuss it a little bit further, we can
Well, I mean, you
definitely
can
do
make a
that. No,
motion.
that's fine.
Okay,
I'll
all right,
pull
okay.
my
I
motion.
just had to figure out what that was.
That's all right, I'll pull my motion, again, how can we pass something we don't even know?
Well,
we're not, we're referring it to the city. And if there is an issue with the bond covenants, then it'll come back, I would assume. But we don't know.
I don't think we should do it that way. I mean, I don't think we should send it up there saying we don't know if this is even,
I think it would be preferable to have a meeting and have this reviewed by bond council before the DDA actually takes a vote on
I would
it.
agree.
fine.
I would agree.
I mean, maybe it doesn't
Then-
change.
then we don't
Maybe
get
it
in trouble,
stays,
you know,
That's
we know
fine.
what we're
maybe
doing.
it stays the same. I don't know. I'm just saying that as of the way it stands right now, it just doesn't seem.
What is now? Would it be possible to have that done before our June Business Marketing Committee
I
meeting?
would think so.
So how?
Director Krieger.
I was just gonna say, nobody likes a dark space. Is it possible? I don't know if we can vote on at least getting the design services, because that's still gonna be an RFP. There's time for all that stuff. We go another month. And we know that we're gonna at least wanna do that. So I'm wondering if it makes sense to at least get that going and then figure out the rest of the terms.
well, and I'll go back to when Sean first brought this to it. That was the recommendation, was to go out and get design services and get bids and decide whether you wanted to pay for the
Right.
cost of the upgrade. But it needed an action to go to the city commission, because the city owns the property, to be in agreement with that. Staff was then directed, no, they needed to have the actual lease terms put together before that went forward to the city commission. So that's where Sean's been working with the Business Marketing Committee to come up with what the Business Marketing Committee wanted the board to consider.
Got it.
And that's where these were generated from, was from the Business Marketing Committee on it.
Got it.
And brought back to bring the whole package and not piecemeal it.
Got it.
Because that was the first thing that came forward, was a recommendation to design the space and pay for the design and actually bid it. That's not what staff was then directed to do,
Right.
so, we seem to be going in circles here.
Yeah, it seems to be.
So if, you know, you want this sent to bond council to get a blessing on that this is acceptable in terms of terms, we can certainly do that. If you're referring it back to staff and Sean and the Business Marketing Committee to come up with different terms, again, I think you're being cyclical. It's been sent to them to come up with what they wanted to recommend. So unless somebody wants to offer some other terms or some other specifics, we're going in circles, in my opinion.
Dr. Spire?
Just for clarity purposes, then, are you saying, Tim, that Director Krieger's idea of sending this out for an RFP is premature because you believe that it has to go before the commission first, before that can be done?
Well, the city owns the building, and I can't believe you would want to spend money on
We don't even know
design
if we're gonna be the
services
tenant.
without some understanding that it's okay. That would be my recommendation to you. It's not a requirement. If you want to spend money on design services without any blessing, that's up to you, but that's not what I would suggest to you.
But we could
It's
rent
gonna-
the space, we know that.
It's also gonna take a while to develop the RFP. I mean, we could start on that process without actually having sent it out and committed.
I don't see a sign in the window saying for lease. I think it's ours if we want to go that road, you know? I'm just trying to think of a way to kick this down the road while we're working out these other terms.
Dr. Husband?
Well, three things, I guess. Everybody's really excited about the idea and wants to get it to move forward. So we're dealing with two issues. One's a legal issue and the other is the business issue. I think that we can make a motion on both issues. Subject to the legal issue being resolved, we send it to the city commission based on these business terms. If the city commission, the legal issue, if it's not an issue, then we can move forward on the business terms. If it is an issue, then it's moot, and we have to understand what the legal aspect is, and the city commission can't consider it. Or they can still consider our business proposal, but to move it forward, we make a motion subject to the legal issue that these are the proposed business terms. If the city commission isn't comfortable with it, then they'll send it back. But that's how you get it moving.
Then just saying get off the agenda Monday night if you have to.
Well, my thought right now is no, it wouldn't be on the agenda Monday night.
Okay, well then I don't know, if we want to just send this to have a bond council look at it, do we need to motion to do that, or?
I think it would be appropriate to just send it back to the committee. We'll take it to bond council, we'll meet with the committee. And then the committee will be in a position to actually make a new recommendation if a new one is appropriate. So that the DDA can actually deal with it at the next meeting.
I make a motion to send it back to the Business Marketing Committee.
Just a quick question, so what,
I got a motion by Director Yazbek.
yeah, I heard, and
I'll second it,
Second by Director Sophia.
and then,
Okay.
okay?
Yeah.
Does that entitle directing staff to take this to bond council?
Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
Your motion entitle that, include that?
Yes.
Does it include starting the verbiage of the RFP?
No.
I'm not gonna support that motion, only because I think there's a way, it sounds like we all wanna do this. I think the hiccup is, you know, can we pay a buck or not? I think we can get over that hurdle. I'm just speaking for myself, I think we can get over that hurdle. I just know it takes time to do this stuff.
Well, I think part
So-
of the point that Mr. Twing was making, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that to go spend that money, because it's not our building. That's a city building. So if for whatever reason this isn't approved, then we've spent time and money on something that we may not even get to do.
Possibly, it's gonna take some time to do an RFP, it's gonna take some time to send it out. Generally, it's about 2 to 3 weeks to receive any responses. and then you have to true it up. We may have our answer by the time we get those back, and it's our Sean's time to do so. And if we can't do this, then we have to negotiate a fee to rent it from the city. It might be $20 a square foot, whatever the market rate is. So some way, I think that's gonna happen. I don't think it's gonna go away. I don't think we'll spend any money yet until we get this answer, because it sounds like it'll come back in a month, the next meeting. Maybe even sooner, depending on when we can get an answer from the bond council. That's where my head is with it, that's all.
So, kind of to summarize, you're doing all that we can without spending any money and keeping this going while waiting on our answer from the city. And
Yeah, that's the idea.
I see no issue with that. We're not spending any money, and we're keeping the process going.
We don't have to sign on the dotted line with any design firm until we know what we're doing. We can at least say, hey, we selected our group.
Once we get our answer, we'll be that much further ahead in our process.
Just a quick question, so, and I'm in favor of that. I'm in favor of if it's nothing out of pocket, we start the RFP program. But in referring it back to the committee, so we're waiting on an answer from the bond council if this is legal. In other words, can the city enter into a $1 per month agreement with us based on this profit structure and us paying everything up front, et cetera, et cetera? If the answer to that is yes, that's kosher, then we bring it back to the table to send it back to the city.
I get what you're trying to say. You're trying to say you want to send it conditionally.
Well, I'm looking to take any link out of the chain that we can to expedite. I'm in favor of expediting it too. But sending it back to the committee, in my opinion, it really should only come back to the committee if the bond council says, sorry, Charlie, this ain't gonna fly. It's already been in the committee, here's our deal. This is what works for us, this is what we think is the best way to go. And if this is illegal based upon bond covenants, then it comes back to us. And then we gotta come up with, do you agree?
I got it.
So I guess I'll ask the person who made the motion, would it be simpler to just make a motion to have direct staff to revert this to bond council? And the committee can, once we have that answer, we know it's either it's a go at that point, that we can send it on.
It's like a flow chart. If the answer is this is good, this meets the test,
Right.
and this doesn't break any covenants, then it goes to the commission. If it does break covenants, then it comes back to the business marketing committee. That's the way I see it.
Is there any practical difference? The business marketing committee will probably meet before the next meeting anyway. Is there any practical difference?
I guess technically not. We can always make the time. We just did it an hour before today.
And if we have it, then if there's some feedback from the city about the business terms, we can look at that also. So there's no harm. I don't think there's any harm going back to the business marketing committee. The only thing I'll say about the RFPs is that I'm not sure. We're sending out RFPs for a possible project. We don't even have a real project yet.
Is that the end of the world? I don't know if that's the end of the world.
I don't know if it is, but I know that Don mentioned that he's not going to take this to the commission, right? You said you're not going to put it on the agenda because we don't know if it's
until he takes it
viable.
to the bond council.
Correct.
For Monday.
Right. No,
So
I
it's going to
understand.
go another month anyways.
Well,
before it gets-
the commission meets more frequently.
Yeah.
That's right, twice a month.
Yeah,
That's
it's
right.
twice a month.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
I think we're all in agreement. It's just a matter of
however you want to phrase it,
Yeah.
whatever we can do to move
I
it
feel like,
along,
yeah.
let's move it along.
I agree.
But we need to know, I think everyone at this table needs to know whether this is practical and whether this violates bond covenants. And if it doesn't, then it goes to the commission. And we see what they say. If we all agree.
Another option is just to, what I think would really be appropriate is to determine what the appropriate market rent is for raw space and cut it in half, because the DDA is paying half of the debt service on the structure. So I think half of what the appropriate rental rate for raw space in a triple net lease would be an appropriate offer from the DDA.
So if the bond council says no go, it would be whatever the market rate is, cut in half. Make sure I'm understanding it. Okay. I really don't. I may have an idea, but I don't know, per se. So that'd be option B.
Right.
I think that is something that I would definitely send back to the committee.
Yeah, I don't think we can.
$5
Yeah.
square foot.
Right.
Well, that being said, we do have a motion on the table.
We do. I guess so, if we're gonna leave it as is, I need clarity.
Well, my understanding is the motion is to refer it back to the Business Marketing Committee. The only reason that I understand to refer it back to the Business Marketing Committee is to find out whether the terms that are being recommended by the Business Marketing Committee are acceptable to bond covenants. So from my standpoint, the only thing I would do is check with bond counsel and see if these terms are legal or not. There's no discussion of changing the terms, so that's the only thing I would think that would come back to the Business Marketing Committee, unless somebody's got something else.
And I think that's the motion.
Yeah, unless the bond council kicks it back, then it goes back to the committee. If it doesn't, then it heads on to the city commission.
So I'm getting confused. What are we doing now? What's your motion again? You don't remember either.
What I
do you?
said.
The motion was to refer it back to the Business Marketing Committee to receive a legal opinion from bond counsel on the legality of this proposal that we've made.
And I'll stick with that, my support on that.
Okay, so, but if in between the committee meeting and now the bond council says it's fine,
It doesn't need to come back.
Then
It's out there, the agreement's out there.
But we have
And
to
it's
approve
okay.
it. But we have to approve it, don't we?
Yes.
We have to approve it.
then we'd have to meet again and approve it.
Right, which would be next month.
The document itself, you're saying?
Yeah, you're not taking any action on this today, you're referring it back to the committee.
But initially, I think my comment was the two issues, legal and business. If we can resolve the legal issue favorably, then I would support sending this to the commission so they can consider the business terms.
So can we
If you
approve
want
this
to,
condition?
if you want to remove as many links as you can,
Yeah, but was that your motion?
that
That
wasn't my
wasn't the
motion because there was further discussion.
Sure, okay.
But I
So-
would certainly amend my motion to,
Maybe I would, if you're thinking of amending it, I would think maybe you just consider withdrawing it and seeing if you, and start all over again.
I would like to withdraw my motion.
So Tim's running out of ink.
It's not my
He'd
fault.
like to withdraw his motion. I did believe we got to have,
Yes, I'm
Okay.
in favor of that.
okay,
That's
so
fine.
now we're back to ground zero, which is way down there. Okay.
Now, before I make the motion, Tim, would it be acceptable to say that I would like to make a motion to approve this resolution and send it to the city commission, subject to confirmation by bond counsel that this proposal is legal and meets bond requirements?
So I have a motion.
I'll second that.
A second by Director Krieger.
Yeah.
All right, so is everyone clear on this? Does anyone have any questions about this?
I have one question.
Sure, Sean.
Do all resolutions end up going through legal anyway? Isn't there a legal review of, like, when the commission meets to decide on things?
I don't think so.
No,
I don't know.
not everything.
I didn't know if it was redundant or not.
And normally, we would be dealing with the city attorney on most things rather than bond counsel. But
Okay.
this is a specialized issue. We would need the bond counsel to review it, not the city attorney.
Got it. That was my only question.
Okay, so I do have one question for Director Johnson. If you have a parking deck that's paid for, and you need to do repairs to the deck, and you bond out whatever amount to do the repairs on the deck, would what you're describing apply to that as well? In other words,
Would depend on the actual covenants of the bond issue.
Okay.
If it's a revenue bond issue, it's likely that there could be covenants in the bond issue that prohibits you from giving away space or from providing space at less than what it's worth. If it's just a general obligation bond, there would be no such covenant, and you could do pretty much whatever you wanted with it.
Okay. And this being a revenue bond,
This is a revenue bond, yes.
okay.
Mike supported it.
Yes,
Oh,
Mike
no,
did.
Jason
Jason
supported-
supported it.
Jason
Yeah.
supported it.
Okay. And this, okay.
That's one last question.
Dr. Krieger.
We have the dollar amount per month, which is fine, but obviously because it's only $1, but is that like a triple net type lease that we'd be talking about, or what type of lease would that be? Is it like a triple net lease? We don't know yet?
No, we haven't gotten
Okay.
to that, no.
Then never mind. I was just curious, that's all.
Right.
Okay.
I figure we would get into those details once we get into
Gotcha.
negotiating a lease.
All right, anybody else? Any questions on this? We've gone around a little bit.
No.
Okay. Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. All right. All right, the agenda says that we're going to go to the downtown manager position, but we're going to break that up because I think we have someone here from Franco. Judy, would you, the two of you like to come on up? Maybe we can introduce everybody?
Like it was an attic stage.
Everyone, I'm Judy Davids, Community Engagement Specialist for the City of Royal Oak, and I have with me Elizabeth. Elizabeth, say your last name. Sabrin, from Franco, and we're here to. We understand you have some questions about the publicity, the PR for the Civic Center project, and we're here to answer any questions that you might have. Or would you like Elizabeth to just begin by telling you what
Sure,
they're
yeah,
up
let's
to?
hear.
Okay.
Yeah, so a little bit since we were last here, I think we can give you guys an update. So I'm sure you've probably seen the Rethink Royal Oak branding that we've done, that you've seen kind of on the website, around the city, in some of the marketing materials that we've put in. So that's how we've branded the entire campaign for a couple of reasons: to distinguish it from other construction projects that are going on in the city and to get people excited about what's coming. Harkening back a little bit to why this is happening, why this project is kicking off, and getting people to think a little bit differently about what the downtown is going to look like and how people are going to interact with it once the project is completed. So kind of having people look at the final result at the end. So some of the things that we're doing, some of you may have received one of three different surveys that we put out: one for residents and visitors, one for business owners, which probably affects the DDA most, and then one for employees. So we worked with Judy and her team to put together questions that would help us determine what issues were most important to people, where their pain points were, and part of our RFP and part of the asks in our RFP were to get benchmark data before the project kicked off. So that's one of the reasons we wanted to do it. And then to get a sense of where are people currently parking? How are they using parking? How are their customers using parking? So a lot of those questions were in there at length to kind of get a sense of where the most pain points would be and how we could best address those and what particular business needs were. For example, do you have a lot of customers carrying heavy things, those kinds of things that will help us better understand how to communicate with their customers. So we're doing one more round of promotion for the surveys, and then we'll be closing those probably in the next week or so, the full next week right before Memorial Day. And then we're going to start pulling the results together. And in the meantime, we've also worked on a downtown parking guide that has in detail information about these surface lots and the metered lots throughout the city. So one of the goals was trying to promote all the parking options at a glance, easy for people to see, and then answer a lot of questions up front about how much does each lot cost for you to park there? Which ones are surface? Which ones are parking decks? A lot of the parking decks are free for the first 2 hours. And then answering questions like, do you need a credit card? Do you need cash? Do you need a parking voucher to park there. So what things do you need for each of the garages? So we have all of that information in there. Are they metered? Those kinds of things. So people know, based on your preferences, here's the easiest thing for you to do. So the idea was now, the third part of this is to start meeting with the immediate business owners around the development project that will be affected most by this, and then to start meeting with some of the other business owners around that. So we're starting to set up meetings with those business owners to walk through the materials that we're going to be able to provide to them and talk about what they're going to need coming up. Because one of the things we also are planning to create is a Dropbox of materials that will have all kinds of social media images, marketing materials, communications that business owners can use to communicate with their customers. So that's sort of the next step of what we're doing now. So as we start to meet with different business owners one-on-one and hear what they could use the most, we'll start populating those things. So, and helping them to determine where is the best place for their customers to park. How do we answer their parking questions, and helping them by giving them ideas of how to communicate to their customers. So that's kind of where we are in our initial process from what we initially proposed to the city, if that makes sense.
Okay, thank you. And what I've seen so far is very good.
Great.
Mr. Spivey.
Okay, I got a simple question, and I'm not sure this is under your purview. I don't know what encompasses your contract with the city and everything else. I have a basic observation. Some of us on this committee, on this board, have received information back from business owners, and we get emails, and we talk to people all the time. So I had an opportunity to get out and walk around, and I was watching the traffic flows and everything else. And again, I honestly do not know if this is under your purview or whether it's somebody on this side of the table or Judy or whoever, but all the information you're providing is great. It's awesome. There's a ton of it, and I get that. But, you know, I'm the guy that's driving my car down Troy Street, and I pull up, and I'm going to park behind Mr. B's because that's where I always park, and it's not available to me anymore. I don't have that available, that information. I'm sitting in my car.
Yeah.
I'm driving around the block. And unless I go on my phone and do some sort of search and get on the city's website, none of that's going to be accessed to me. Mm-hmm. I guess I'm wondering why we as a city, as a group, can't dummy this down a little bit and have some really basic signage that says parking 2 blocks this way, parking structure block and a half that way, right at the entrances where I would normally pull into to park and to go to the lot behind Mr. B's. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I did watch the traffic flow, and people were still coming down and still expecting to park there. There are some people that don't know that we have a project going on there. So I'm trying to figure out they're coming in and they're pulling in the driveway and the gate's there, and they're backing out now onto 3rd Street, and they're now pulling down the street, and they're searching for additional parking. But we don't have anything there to direct them in any direction. If they're not familiar with Farmers Market, or they're not familiar with the Center Street structure, they don't know where to go, and they're just gonna keep driving around until they find something. So I don't know if that's something that can be addressed. And I don't know if it's within your purview or not. But those are some basic things that, if we could have some more construction signage, maybe that's what it is, that says alternate parking this way or so. I think it would go a long way, and I think it's gonna come into play for literally the next 2 years, because the same thing's gonna happen when we go to do City Hall, and so forth and so forth. So we need to get people from point A to point B, and what you're doing is all good. It's just, it's not effective to the person that's right there at that manner. Now, I know, I think you responded, and I get that Boji's fence is Boji's fence, and, you know, the city can't really put up anything, but the city could put up one of those big orange construction signs that says
parking lot
Yeah.
closed, seek alternate parking.
Yeah, something along that line, so.
Sidewalks or whatever.
Yeah, where it says, normally it would say sidewalk closed, now it says, you know, something along that. So that, it was my observation, and I really needed to,
No, that's a really
Get it
good
out there.
observation. I've been talking to Tim, and we're trying to figure out, for this first lot, we do need, like, your DPS orange signs, because the fence belongs to
Right.
Ron Bochi now, or the Bochi
Right.
Group. When we do the other lots, there's opportunities to put smaller, like, directional signs that have information, like where to go, because Tim, correct me if I'm wrong, the other parking lots will not have a scrim all the way around it, correct? Right, so we can put a small, not a small sign, a large sign there that has some directional things. So we hear you and we agree with you.
Appreciate
and we
that very
understand you.
yeah, thank you.
And just, not to beat a dead horse, but just to piggyback on what Director Sfaya said, I mean, this board here spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on wayfinding signs, and and a large part of those wayfinding signs is directing people where parking is, where people don't know where parking is. I mean, that's the whole marketing idea of it. In this case, you've got people who know where the parking is, and they're gonna keep coming. There might be somebody a year from now who's gonna come to that lot and go, holy crap, what happened, what's going on here? So, with
Right.
that in mind, I think it's, and if we can't use, Mr. Boji's fence, well, maybe we could ask him, and if we can't, I mean, we figured out a way to put directional signs out on sidewalks via wayfinding to make it happen, so, and it's ironic, we would all think like, come on, like, people should see there's a brand new, spanking brand new 7-story structure over there, can't they just see it? They can't. I mean, I'm amazed sometimes that people who come here all the time, they don't even know that new structure is there. People who come here all the time and will complain about parking or whatever, and will say, did you realize we have this? No, I never saw it.
What I'm amazed is somebody always gets a parking spot in that lot. Because you don't always get a parking spot in that lot. And then you have to drive around looking
Yeah.
for another parking spot.
Yeah, but I think it would be, it would just go miles just to be able to direct people, and not only that, but tell them it's, 2 hours free during the day. Because that kind of takes the sting away, because it's like, oh gosh, even if this was here, well, I'd have to feed the meter, but now I can go there for free.
One thing you all can help us with is promoting, a couple things. Part of the reason that Elizabeth is doing what she's doing is we're hoping that those customers that talk to businesses about their frustrations about not being able to park there and having to drive around looking for parking will now be presented with a guide and some information, and those business owners will have the right talking points to guide their customers through it. The second thing is this parking lot, we cannot pay people to park behind City Hall because everybody's afraid because there's police cars there.
I know.
They say, I thought you said we could
I know.
park there. But we see police cars there, and we're like, yeah, there's police cars there, and you can also park there. They're just really, really afraid.
No one's ever parked there, that's why.
Water,
Safest lot in the city right
Oh,
now.
yes, yes,
water will find its level, trust me. Water will find its level.
Yes, so, there was
That seems to be getting a little better.
getting a
Oh,
little better, yeah.
yeah.
That one Wednesday night, the farmer's market lot was completely full, and there were like 3 cars parked there. And then on a Thursday night, it was completely full, so I don't know what was happening. But it's on and off. But if you could help us let people know that you can park there, honest engine, you can, so.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Director Lennon.
I just want to make a comment about the survey, because when I first received the survey, I thought it was spam. I didn't think it was from the city, and I thought it was from someone trying to get information from me, not in a good guided sense. And then I read the first question with the spelling, then confirmed to me there was grammatical error in the first sentence. And I thought, well, this must be spam. I didn't think it was professional, quite frankly. So I did not fill out the survey. So I think you should reword it in the beginning, knowing it's from the city sponsor. Now I'll re-look at the survey and fill it out. But I really did not think it was a city piece.
Yeah, we heard you on that too. So anything that goes out from Franco moving forward will look like it's coming from me personally. And I'm sorry about that typo.
I'm in the stationery business. I catch you around all the time.
And then I think one of the benefits too to having this first lot go offline is we're able to get this kind of feedback before we take the second lot offline. And that's really helping. That kind of feedback that you provided is really great because now we can think about ways to address that. And it's certainly being talked about, like you said, but that's the kind of feedback, we're trying to get from the survey, we're trying to get from meeting with business owners, so we can say before the next lot goes offline and the other ones go offline, that we can start saying, okay, what's going to help you the most? And, I think by the next round, we're gonna have a lot more things in place too. So, but yeah, the feedback that you have is great, and, we definitely wanna hear it.
Yeah, I think, Judy, just like the prime example that I was thinking of is as you're coming, what is that, Troy Street? No, not Troy.
Williams?
Williams, as you're coming up Williams, and you get to Third, that's when you would normally just go straight across into the parking lot right in front of City Hall. And there is a gate there, and they close the gate, I'm sure, at night, whatever, or keep it closed. But that, if we could direct people right or left with some sort of signage, I think that would solve a lot of.
Yeah, and there's probably opportunity to put something on there because it doesn't have a scrim on it or anything.
Right.
And during the day when it's open and there's earth-moving equipment in
Yeah.
there, it's pretty obvious
It's pretty
something's going
obvious,
on. But
yeah.
at night, I agree, it looks like
Yeah.
an event. My first reaction when I saw it was like, oh, there's like an event, like a,
Right.
a festival going on here or something, because it
Yeah.
looks very festive, so.
Good, thank you.
Anybody else?
Oh, I'm sorry. Just one more thing. And Judy, I don't know if you're the one to answer this, but it's my favorite topic. But the countdown sign in the new garage, has that been? I mean, it doesn't seem. The other morning I went by, it was like
Not working again?
It's still not right.
Yeah, it was like 8:60, and this is like probably 10 in the morning.
Check again, I don't know.
I mean, one day it seemed like they reset it because it was down in the 600s. But I mean, you never see it below like usually 800, 900, and that's. And all you gotta do is drive in there and get a ticket and drive through it, and the old portion of the deck is 80% parked up, and I just feel it's important that, particularly with us shutting down lots and
Right.
then with Edkin moving in and everything, it's really gonna be important that those tell the right story.
Is that a garage thing?
Yes.
Yeah,
Well,
Yeah.
this is an old issue.
yeah, it's my favorite issue.
That's right.
It looks like city manager's.
On top of it.
Somebody right now.
He's on it
It
right
really-
now.
He's already on it.
It really hasn't been an issue because there's been
That's why we
enough
like
space
having
in the
them here.
new deck, but it's really gonna be, I mean, that's like, and I'll give our favorite example. I was in Birmingham the other day, and everybody knows what's going on downtown there. If they think we have a mess, oh man. But like the deck on Park Street, I mean, it was like 18 spots, and I saw somebody drive in, and it went to 17, 16, and it's really, really important there because it's because of the situation. Those countdown signs got to be right on.
Yeah.
Elizabeth, thank you. Like what you're doing. Judy, I know you have a lot to do with this too. Thank you. We see Rethink everywhere.
Yes, everywhere.
I'm used to it now.
Yes.
So it's great. So thank you very much. And if we have anything else, we'll go through Judy and or through Tim or Sean, really, I guess. And
All right, thank you very much. Thanks for
Thank
bringing
you.
us up here. I appreciate
All right.
that.
Thank you.
Thanks.
and for the record, I am parked in the garage today on purpose. There's not a single cop car in there.
Good act.
And by the time I'm done here, it'll only cost me $1. I'll be here like 3.5, 4 hours today. Just saying. So, all right. Thank you. Number 7, the downtown manager position.
Well, I'll lead into it briefly. We have a memo that Business Marketing Committee was doing the annual evaluation of the downtown manager position and Sean's effort. What the Marketing Committee is recommending is that the position become a full-time position under the Community Development Office, funded 100% with DDA funds, and we've been working towards having that accomplished. The committee has been talking about the annual salary and a salary range, and there's 2 blanks left in there, and I'll let the committee members discuss where they're at with that. One outstanding issue was that make this position effective as soon as possible. So I been in conversations with the Human Resource Department. And if the board acts today, we'll attempt to move that as quick as we can through any requirements or paperwork that need to occur down there. So I don't have a date that would be, when it would be implemented. There's been some discussion with the Human Resource Director and the city attorney as to whether this needs to go to the city commission because of an attrition policy that the commission has adopted, but I've still got to clarify those discussions. So if you act today and it needs to go to the city commission, they don't have another meeting until June. So anyways.
I'm gonna pass this to Director Riley.
Yeah, well, one thing is we hope that we can avoid the city commission step, because, you know, we'd like to make this happen as quickly as possible, for a number of reasons. We feel, number one, we feel Sean has done an outstanding job. We're currently paying him, as a contractor, $76,000 a year. Our proposal is to bring him in as a full-time employee at a salary of $56,000 a year, plus benefits, with a salary range of $56,000 to $68,000 with inside the ProTech group. We went through various different things. We broke this down 6 ways to Sunday, where he was at. What our cost was currently with him at $76,000, where it would be with him as an employee, and this puts us right in the range of where we need to be. So that is what we are proposing. Any questions? I'm open to them.
There is a resolution there, if you filled in the blanks. So.
Yeah, so filling in the blanks would be for the downtown manager will have an annual starting annual salary of $56,000 with an annual salary range of $56,000 to $68,000, subject to any increases in ProTech contract. And the reason for the range, I'm just going to say, and we've discussed this with Sean. We wanted to set a range that made sense and gave us flexibility in that, let's say something happened 2 years from now where all of a sudden we add a lot to his plate. For example, all of a sudden we start adding events top to bottom or whatever. And
Really?
And now it's to the point where he's working 70 hours a week or something like that. This gives us the range with inside of ProTech to be able to compensate him accordingly were something like that to happen. But it's, you know, and Sean understands it's not an expectation that it's going to go up there. There'll be annual increases and reviews, just like a real employee. And again, we feel he's done a great job, and
Gets health insurance, that's key.
he's got a little one coming along the way, so.
Another one.
Another one, so. Again, we're hoping that we can avoid the pit stop at the city commission and be able to get this thing through ASAP.
All right, well, I'd be willing to entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion as written with the figures plugged in there to bring Sean on as quickly as possible. I can't say enough about the work that he's done over the past year. He's great to work with. His follow-through is excellent. His insight is invaluable.
I'll second
It's a motion, and I got a motion by Director Bagley, a second by Director London. And just to repeat this, and I'll just move to the middle of this motion, you're saying it's starting annual salary of $56,000 with an annual salary range of $56,000 to $68,000. Okay,
Yep.
all right. Okay. Director Krieger.
I'm gonna obviously support this. I think Sean does a great job. I see him all the time cruising around town. He's either going to the bars a lot or he's working his butt off. So I think he's working. And I mean, I'm probably going to the bars a lot. So I like the range. I believe in paying people based on their performance. We do the same thing at our company. So I make sure that we're like, how are they through bonuses? Are they salary increases? Because I want to make sure that if Sean's really working hard, putting in time, he's compensated for that.
Fair, very, very fair. There, within the ProTech group, there is set increases, okay? With those increases, okay, he automatically gets those. With those increases, if they're let's, for example, just say 2.5%. With those increases, his salary would go up 2.5%, and the cap of the range, the high end of the range, goes up by that percent. We have the ability as a board to increase them whenever we'd like within that range. That's why we stuck the range out a little bit further.
So there's yearly reviews, et cetera. If there's something unique, then I got it. Perfect. Okay.
Yep.
Very good.
Yep.
Anybody else? And I'll just say that, when we first decided we were gonna bring back a downtown manager, we were a little cautious. We wanted to make sure we had the right idea in mind, we had the right person. We made that a contract position, just that kind of gave us a little bit of flexibility should it not work out. And I think everyone here will agree, and I think I've only heard good things from the businesses and the residents downtown will agree that, one, it's great we have a downtown manager, and two, it's great that it's Sean. So I will assure there's no Trojan horse here in this, so we aren't planning on having you work 70 hours a week. We'll keep you at the 65 you're at now. Okay, so, anybody else got anything? Seeing nothing, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. All right, on to the DDA website, number 8.
I'm gonna let Sean walk you through this. This is his memo to you. He's been working on whether and how to deal with the DDA's website and dealing with Mike Kirby in the IT department, so.
So I'll go back to the strategy session that the DDA had earlier this year, toward the end of February, where it was stated that the board really wanted to focus on promoting the district more, having the website serve as more of a communications tool, and working with our website on a daily basis as it currently stands. It doesn't fully serve the function that I believe that the DDA board wants to see in terms of its online presence. It works very well as a business database. You can find businesses, they're categorized very well. But when people are looking for businesses to downtown, they'll usually hit Google first, not our website. And Google has a much more rich and flexible and continuously updating database that can actually, frankly, provide more information much more quickly. So our website's kind of serving as like second banana to that right now. So I was speaking with members of the city staff regarding what we could do to our website, and I was looking at a couple of options. One, we could just go out and build a new one. But another option is we can fold our downtown website into the existing city website. So it would be kind of a sub-page. And we would have, much like the library, a downtown button in our main navigation bar on the main page. And it would go to our specific downtown page. We can add sub-pages to that if we want to, so we can even add the business lists of all the retailers, of all the dining, of all the other entertainment opportunities there as well. So we can still serve that function, but we can have that main page serve as a promotions and communications tool, with a sliding header, with pictures that rotate on the main page, and we can change them very quickly if we want to. So if we want to advertise, a specific program that's happening downtown, or we want to celebrate a new business coming in, or we have a press release, we can visually represent that on that main page. So when people go to our website, it's the first thing they see. It's very flexible. We can design it just in-house using staff to do that. It's a pretty flexible template. Currently, we had to add a button on our existing website for an email sign-up, and I think it was close to $500 to have it developed. So if we fold into the city's website, we can simply just drag and drop a button where we want to see it, and we wouldn't have to pay something like that. So we're afforded a lot more flexibility. I met with city staff, including Mike Kirby, and he assured me that it will actually be cheaper because we won't be paying for hosting for a separate site. We would still have, I believe, like the $12 fee if we want to still own downtownroyaloak.org. We can have that forward to this subpage if we want to.
Would suggest that you do still keep that.
Right, I would recommend that we do. And I have that in my recommended resolution as well. Other than that, it's much cheaper for the DDA. And there are no ancillary costs associated with that. So it would be just as simple as creating me an account to log into the city website and then building a page. So it would be, frankly, that simple. Outside of talking to our IT director, he can handle the URL redirect, so Downtown Royal Oak takes us to a new page rather than the existing one. And then it would be implied that we would terminate our relationship with our existing web host, and the existing website would go away. So, if the DDA supports this, I have a resolution for its consideration to support the Consumer Marketing Committee's recommendation to move the downtown website to the City of Royal Oak website, where it will exist as a downtown webpage within the Greater City website, and transfer its current domain name, downtownroyaloak.org, to the new webpage.
Director Sophia.
I'll move the resolution as stated.
And a motion by Director Sophia.
Second.
Second by Director Baglio. Director Sophia.
One quick question. I think we talked about this previously. Will we be able to, at some point, do like, feature independent businesses on the website?
Yes.
Like on a monthly basis or something along that line?
This will actually allow us to do that. So we can have a slider on our main downtown page. So when you open up the page, it's the first thing that you see is a picture that takes up the majority of the screen. We can change that to anything we want. We can turn it into a link where it takes you to a separate one. So if we want to have, a featured business of the month, we can have that as the first thing that people see when they go in. They click on it. We can have it take to a sub-page where it talks about the business, maybe a brief article or something like that, or we could even have it redirect to their website, should we wish. But yeah, we would have that flexibility.
Just to expand on that, Mike, we can have 30 of those. And what this will allow us to do is most people use social media now. They're all on Facebook, they're all on Instagram. It'll allow us to put links within Facebook and social media to take people right back to that page. So it gives us another level of advertising, whereas our social media right now is just, we're putting pictures up. But once you put those links in there, it takes people back. It's a lot more versatile.
Gotcha.
I'll just add to that too, if I may, Mr. Chairman. It's actually a really timely comment because that's something that I'm going to be taking to our stakeholders meeting tomorrow morning about featuring businesses on our regular social media pages and then doing something very similar to that, just hitting the ground running with our social media along those lines, and then incorporating our website into that as well.
Quick question. I like the idea of doing this. Where do you picture the link going to the DDA portion? I'm looking at the City of Royal Oak's website. At the top bar, there's government, library, public safety. It's like would it be in there? Would it say Royal Oak DDA, or would it be top billing where it has the Royal Oak logo? Or
So I'd have
do you
to
have any?
open it.
Have you thought that through yet, or no?
Yeah, we have.
Okay.
Judy and I built a test page, so it's in draft form right now. So if we log into our accounts, we can see that downtown is. It's a link that is on the main navigation page, and I think it's between government and whatever's next to government.
Library.
Yeah,
This would
so
be in
it's
there
in between
basically.
those two, and
Okay.
it fits. So it's like the last
Is it actually
remaining
live?
room.
Is it live right now if he types in the actual
It's
full
not
URL?
live. It's a draft right now. We didn't go live with
Okay.
anything until we had approvals.
So it'll be along that bar, and let's say downtown. Royal Oak. Gotcha.
Plus, if you still go to the old URL, it'll forward you.
It'll
to-
take you over to, so it's like another path into
Exactly.
that. Yeah, no, I like it. That's good.
Oh, very good. Director Johnson.
Add a couple comments. I know Judy spent some time with Sean and took him through actually using our system, so he's already familiar with how everything works within the system. Also, we've got two other things that we subscribe to that's available to the DDA as well, and I'm trying to remember the name of the one product, the forms product.
Oh, that's right.
Sorry?
That's right. I can't remember the name of it, but I know you
But
referenced
it lets you create forms, capture data through the forms that it puts into a database. So user fills out something, the data goes into a database, and you've got access to it, and you can use it that way. Also, we have a subscription to SurveyMonkey. SurveyMonkey, you can get a free subscription to, but there's a big difference between the paid service and the free service in terms of the tools that it gives you to manipulate and analyze data. We have a paid account, and that's available to Sean as well.
Anybody else? Okay, seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. All right, I think we're on to committee updates, I believe.
Oh, that would be me. We did meet this past month. We had a very, very lengthy agenda. The main bulk of the agenda took, we opened the RFPs for events and the other one for marketing. We narrowed them down, and we are vetting the events and should have a proposal for you to approve in June. And then after we settle on that one, we're gonna tackle the marketing proposals and do the same thing for hopefully a July meeting. Any questions on that?
All I'll say is we got some very good responses.
Very good
in
responses.
both segments.
Very
marketing
Yes.
and events.
So we'll have something for us in July, did you say, or
On the
June?
next
For
meeting.
the
June.
the
Oh,
June meeting,
okay.
we'll have an events proposal, and hopefully in July we'll have a marketing.
Okay, so the events will be plenty of time for Spooktacular.
Tight, but. they're-
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, they can pull it, if they're good, they can pull it off, right?
In terms of the tree lighting coordination, we settled on November 15th for, to turn all the lights on downtown. We talked about a couple of other proposals that we had in front of us. We decided not to move forward with them. But for the most part, we talked about the RFPs.
Any questions for Director Baglio? No? Okay, thank you, Gary. That was a good meeting. 9B Infrastructure Committee, we didn't have a May meeting. will
We
have a
didn't.
June meeting.
We will have a June meeting.
And 9C Business Marketing Committee.
Yep, well, we had 426, and then we had today, and I think we've gone over everything that we discussed. Sean, garage retail space, and then Singh DTE today. I think that was,
Yep.
I don't have anything else, unless I missed something. I think that was all we had, yeah. Besides that.
Any questions? No. Okay. Let's move on to number 10, other business and reports. We have the downtown manager report. Sean?
So I'll just go through this rather quickly. I just wanted to update the board on a few things I have been working on. But you should know that a number of business owners had approached me with the intention of organizing a ladies' night out event to promote shopping and dining in the downtown district. This is something that like Berkeley and Milford and Holly do, and I guess they meet with a lot of success. So these business owners approached me for it, so I told them that I could help facilitate their meeting. They could use my office to meet with other business owners if they wanted to do something more grassroots and kind of organize something amongst themselves. So they had organized a couple of meetings, but unfortunately they didn't see sufficient representation from downtown retailers at the meeting. So I think there were about 2 of these meetings in which there just was no clear interest from the retailers in participating in something like this. So they responded by putting the project kind of on hold indefinitely until they show signs of interest in the future. I wanted to let you know that, in case the subject is brought up, in conversation, there was just a lack of interest at this time for a lot of the local businesses to organize around that. The next thing is a business welcome kit. Spoke with the chair. We were talking about putting together something where we could welcome new businesses to the downtown. I put together a small meeting to exchange ideas. I met with the chamber and a number of other business owners as well to design something. It was recommended to me that we put together a small guide to downtown Royal Oak, which is something I do like, but I think it would be more efficient if we drove them to the website instead and made some feature of the website serve as an electronic guide as well. You know, I think that would be cheaper, more efficient, and we could change it and update it very quickly and reflexively. In addition, you know, creating things similar to what we did on Small Business Saturday with, you know, if we want to pursue things with like a downtown Royal Oak tote or anything like that, that's on the table. And so I'm kind of examining that to see if it's worth the cost to do things like that. Otherwise, we would just go to go with the guide and maybe collect a couple of donated gift cards from various local businesses and whatnot. We have some office users that will be coming into some of our business buildings as they come online as early as 6 weeks from now. So I have spoken with a representative from the Ekin development who actually loves the idea about putting something together to welcome the new staff that'll be using the building, so they'll know where to go out to eat, where to take clients for lunch, where to shop for their administrative assistants, you know, really just promote all of the amenities in downtown to, you know, it's a new market moving in that we can reach out to. So that's something that we really want to leverage.
And specifically where to park and
Where
how
to
to
park,
park.
exactly.
And especially with that, Ken, one of the things that we had talked about was addressing them and just extolling upon them the 100% need that they must follow the permit parking system.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that one spot doesn't become two.
Mm-hmm.
And that needs to be just hammered home to them that for us, you know, to exist as neighbors, this is what's got to be done.
Right. So all of that essential information that we would like to get out, we can use, you know, this is a means of doing that. And, you know, we can work with our advertising or marketing firm when they come on board to, you know, clean it up and make it look really presentable and, you know, eye-catching and
Will some of this
presented
be
in an artistic manner.
Will some of this be delivered face to face at all? Like in specific, I'm thinking of the whole permit parking thing. I mean, that's the kind of thing that it's one thing to put it in a letter and send it to somebody, but if you have the chance to meet with, you know, a group of employees, welcome to downtown. Oh, by the way, you've got this permit number.
We would like to do that. I have been talking to the city manager about putting some sort of welcome event together that might consist of, and this is conceptual, mind you, of a Tastes of Royal Oak where we could get maybe a couple tables of some area restaurants to set up in the building, you know, so if they're first week in the building, they can go to a certain floor and they can experience all the samples from various things. We could even set up an information table as people walk in as kind of like a gateway to give them information and, you know, meet them face to face, pass out my business card, whatnot, and make those personal introductions. I think would be a really good idea.
Totally agree. And maybe this is a separate thing, and I don't want to overbeat this, but it is very important with the way that the permit parking is set up, that people abide by their permit. And if you're up on the 6th floor, you park on the 6th floor. You know, just take your permit down and park on the 2nd floor, because then you're taking up 2 spots during the day. And whether, you know, and I will volunteer to be the one to go and meet with companies if need be when they come in and just say, hey, just FYI, you know, we appreciate it and we all got to work together. I'm sorry. It's important, man.
Well, Sean and I will do that.
That's fine, if you guys, but I'm just saying it's in my opinion, it's got to be more than a little note that we hand out to them. And I'm not saying that everything's going to be a note, but
Sure.
This is an important thing, particularly with these parking lots shutting down and everything. You don't think I'd be diplomatic?
Yeah, so I'm putting this guide together. I'll definitely include all that. I'm exploring the use of Adobe Spark to put something like that together, which is a program that can put something visually striking together to convey that information. So I should have something by probably the first couple weeks of June, hopefully by the next scheduled appropriate committee that I can take this to for review and approval. Next is we explored becoming involved in the Metro Mode Community Newsroom. I took this concept to the chamber, the restaurant association, and the retailers, and I basically got the same information each time, is that it was a fairly expensive program that was for a very limited period of time. And the measurable impact was questionable and potentially uncertain. So at this time, it didn't look like there was enough support from the downtown business community to support this program. But there are other things like it that I feel are probably within reach that might be able to do more for less. So I'm currently exploring other options. And then when I get that information, I'll take it to the appropriate committee level. Just to let you know, as the Consumer Marketing Committee report that was presented to you, the proposals from the RFPs were received. We actually got a fairly decent response from the RFPs, and we talked about those last Monday. And as the Consumer Marketing Committee chair reported, we will have something. They will have something recommended to the boards for their consideration by June, and then we'd be looking at July probably for the advertising and marketing firm. So that firm will probably get started probably later in the summer once we get a contract negotiated. Very quickly, Royal Oak has been accepted into the Oakland County Main Street program last Thursday. I assembled a delegation to attend the awards on Thursday, May 10th, where we were called up on stage, and Brooks Patterson presented me with this, which makes it official that we are now members. I think we represented our community very well. We had the chair of the Arts Commission, we had DDA board member represented, we had our state rep was there, and Jody Ellison from the Arts Commission as well.
It was a star-studded delegation.
Yeah. I think the people we brought out outranked everyone in the room.
Absolutely.
Well, as soon as I heard Gary was going, I just jumped on board.
Red carpet.
So it was.
Red carpet.
Would have been better.
And at the last minute.
So I think we represented the community very well. So we put our best foot forward in front of the Oakland County community. So that was a good event. So we covered the retail space. New businesses, we have Milan Pizza that has opened, so they've done a soft opening there on Main Street. They are holding their grand opening ceremony for June 12th at noon, and they'll be doing a promotion for free slices of pizza from noon to 6 p.m. These two business owners, they're two partners, they're very interested in getting involved in the community, and they really want to get out there and get to know everybody, so I think there'll be some good community partners that we can work with on various activities. So I'm really optimistic about that. I saw Desert Oasis is presently working on their space at 115 South Main Street. It looked like they were beginning their build-out process. So we're excited to see them open. I don't have a date yet. And then there is a new business that looks like it's gearing up on 305 South Main Street, an Asian fusion restaurant.
That's at LOLE?
Vera.
Vera, right?
Yeah, Vera. So,
Interesting.
and
looked at their
I
website.
just got their contact information as well, so I'll be reaching out to them to find a way to celebrate them and welcome them to the community. So our May stakeholders meeting hasn't happened yet. It's actually scheduled for tomorrow morning at the library at 10 a.m. John Perpolic from Mr. B's is going to speak a little bit about how he's transitioning his business to more of an arts-focused and away from the sports bar kind of vibe. So he's going to be talking about that, and all other businesses who are interested in potentially doing the same are welcome to attend. Representative, I believe it'll be Elizabeth from Franco, will be there to communicate updates around the ROCC project. And like I mentioned earlier, I'm going to be talking about hitting the ground running with the social media promotion of the small businesses and having that be revolving. Depending on how many I get initially, I could switch it out weekly or bi-weekly. So we'll see how many businesses are interested in participating tomorrow morning, and we can start filling up a calendar. I spoke to you about the downtown website. I looked into downtown gift cards. I've talked to the Consumer Marketing Committee about this already, to try to capture a lot of economic activity by putting in gift cards that could only be spent at businesses within the downtown. There's a lot of cities around the country that operate a gift card program. They're branded cards, people get them as gifts, and then they have a list of participating businesses. It's limited by geography, so it could only be spent, say, within the DDA district. So I looked into that. Unfortunately, it looked like the fees were very high. And I called a number of those cities as well and talked about how that program worked. And overall, they liked it. But the same complaint that they had over and over again was the fees. And it looks like it's one main company that seems to do it all across the country. And I'm looking to see if they have a competitor, but so far I haven't found one. And I spoke to them yesterday morning too to ask them more about the fees, and unfortunately it looked like it was just something that would be exorbitantly high. I also wanted to report that there's interest among all of the breweries and distillery in downtown, including 2 that are outside the district, of putting on some kind of craft brewing promotion to celebrate the art of craft brewing. So they really wanted to reach out to the home brewing segment of the economy and try to capture them to make Royal Oak more of the hub of craft brewing, since we have such a high concentration of that manufacturing sector here. So they're working on that. I don't have any additional information to report on that right now. I just wanted to make the board aware of it. And it does look like an exciting prospect. So
Have you discussed it with all of the brewers?
I have.
I think that's a great idea.
They 100% of them are on board to do something. They want to put some sort of promotion together to work amongst themselves. They were talking about organizing themselves and doing something on 4th Street. I don't have anything official to bring to the board or any of the committees, but once we get some idea of how they want to structure
really
this.
cool idea, I think.
Yeah, they want to really brand Royal Oak as like the center of that manufacturing sector, which I think might be a really good idea because it'd be leveraging something we already have. So,
Not only that, but it's spreading out the downtown. You know, in other words, I don't think we've ever done like an event that far east.
mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
and that I think it'd be really unique.
Mm-hmm. And finally, last thing of the meeting here, I am currently working on some retail attraction leads. I've actually gotten a lot of feedback recently from some emails and some phone calls I've made, so I'll be meeting with some interested people who are interested in potentially locating in downtown Royal Oak. And I'll definitely let the board know when I have more information.
Very good. Any questions? Well, once again, a very good report. Thank you very much. I guess we got, just for informational purposes, you got B, which is the special event permit for the Red Fest, once again this year, and then C, which is the special event permit for the Art of Fire, formerly the Clay and Glass Festival, renamed and branded by the Chamber this year. Other than that, I don't know if anybody else has anything for the good of the cause. No. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Good. Moved by Director Krieger, seconded by Director Safaya. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Good night.